What
Oh,
what are the things that you like are like,
jeez.
that's kind of like misconceptions and
I would hate to cause people to think that they shouldn't prioritize something like, like the whole CECO calorie in, calorie out equation, because I do think that trumps a lot. But I think there's a lot of people, maybe this is similar to my reply to you about exercise, who are overdoing the whole intermittent fasting keto thing. There's, I talk to a lot of, for example, especially like premenopausal women who are doing like 16-hour fasts, and they're seeing, these intense hormonal imbalances and downregulation of fertility. And, they're essentially treating themselves as men when women, especially premenopausal women, do better on like a 10 to 12 hour intermittent fast and, strength training and adequate protein and all the, I see a lot of cardio bunnies, not to stereotype, who are doing excess intermittent fasting. So that's one thing that I think is overrated. And then, look, I am all about controlling glycemic variability. A lot of times I wear a blood glucose monitor. I am aware and cognizant of my carbohydrate, starch, and sugar intake. But I think a lot of people now, especially with the surge in CGMs, they're just scared of carbs, scared of sugar, and often equate what would be considered traditionally a therapeutic ketogenic diet, right? Like 30 to 40 grams of carbs or whatever a day that you'd use to, in a situation of TBI, concussion, Alzheimer's, et cetera. And they're saying, oh, well, this is like my new cognitive enhancing superpower. And you tend to see, back to what I was saying earlier for me, back when I did that, when exercising a lot, impact on the thyroid, impact on testosterone, impact on joint health. The way that I do things now, after experimenting with a lot of different approaches, is I kind of think you can have your cake and eat it too. I don't eat a lot of carbs and sugars most of the day, right? I save my carbs until the evening, which is typically the meal that tends to be the most social, the most difficult sometimes to control what you're eating, because you're out at restaurants, you're with friends, you're at a party, whatever. So I eat like low carb, relatively keto most of the day. And then I'll have like 250 to 350 grams of carbs at night, which is great because you sock away a little bit of liver glycogen and muscle glycogen for a great workout the next morning.
So would you
get a little bit of a serotonin and melatonin response.
It's not going to be like white flour. You're not eating.
No, sweet potato, purple potato, yam, beet, parsnip, dark chocolate, yogurt. So, good carbohydrate sources. Do a lot of like carrot fries, sweet potato fries. So,
but not a lot of grains or beans.
Not a lot of grains or beans, besides my wife does really, really good fermented sourdough bread. She makes those crunchy cannonballs, which are pretty good with a little bit of honey and sea salt on them. I'm basically in a pretty glycemically stable state the entire day. Quick feeding at night, that because I'm usually doing something active before dinner, playing tennis or pickleball with the family, doing a sauna cold plunge, going on a quick walk, or even using bitters, for example, before the meal, I'm inducing almost like a temporary state of heightened insulin sensitivity prior to the evening carbohydrate feeding. So I'm not getting a huge blood sugar spike that lasts till midnight and then a hypoglycemic drop that wakes me up at 1 a.m. or whatever. So I'm active around dinner time. I have some bitters with dinner, which kind of act as glucose disposal agents. And then I sleep like a baby and then get up the next morning and rinse, wash, and repeat. And I see a lot of people who just like go for way too long restricting carbohydrates. Whereas I think more of like a carb refeeding approach works way better. And that's the way I've eaten for like, probably more than a decade now.
And you're talking about carbs like sweet potatoes and things that are much lower glycemic.
Right.
Have
Yeah.
lots
I
of
avoid.
fiber.
Yeah. I avoid.
You're not having refined
non-nutritionally dense carbohydrates. I generally avoid.
So like
period.
Ice cream.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the ice cream. There's some good brands out now, and we have goats. My sons make some pretty good goat milk ice cream.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it depends. But yeah, most ultra processed starches and sugars you should avoid in general. But especially even in like the health world, I just see people being carb phobic.
Well, you see fat phobic, now it's carb phobic.
Exactly.
And then
hopefully it doesn't become protein phobic soon.
If you love that last video, you're going to love the next one. Check it out here.